This is the Our Town podcast coming to you from North Alabama, and the new year 2023 is upon us, and it's cool to go into another year. I'm going to introduce my guest here shortly, but I think I was kind of thinking to myself, gone are the days of having to like write a check and write out the date, and that used to be something that I would really struggle with when the new year came. You know, it's like, what are those tough transitions?
Having to scribble the new number.
Yeah, and just forgetting, and sometimes it'd be February by the time I'm like correct on the year. But Sonya Bailor is here. I'm going to introduce her and switch the camera to her in just a second. But as I've been researching her, and I met her several months ago, and I was trying to figure out what is the right time to interview her. And let me just say this to our viewers and our listeners that have been hanging on from the beginning or just discovered the show. I certainly appreciate it, number one. I appreciate everybody who subscribes or writes a review or makes a comment. I'm sweating for some reason. It's just hot in my studio today. But and I've noticed an uptick in that, which is fantastic. And as I have mentioned in not every episode, but many episodes, I will mention the fact that everybody has a story, and some stories are typical, and some stories are absolutely amazing and extraordinary, incredible, whatever adjective you want to place there. And as I was researching Sonya and kind of looking at what I'm doing a lot lately is just pulling from Facebook or Instagram, doing research through pictures, right? Like if someone's been a really good poster and they go back several years, well, you can learn a lot from just what they post.
Decades.
What are they wearing? Who are they with? Yeah, and it goes back and back. And so, and I realized you definitely can fall into that category with all the haters out there of when people say, people only put the good stuff on social media and they don't have that great, excellent life. Well, you're going to find today, because I don't meet with all my guests prior, like I did with Sonya. Sonya or Sonya? How do you want me to pronounce your name?
Sonya.
Sonya, okay. But I did meet with you, and it just depends on what story that I want to tell in the episode and how well I feel like I can learn about this guest or not. So I met with you, and you gave me enough for me to say, you know what? You deserve every ounce of happiness that can come your way based on what you've gone through. And we're going to talk about a lot tonight. There's probably going to be some emotions. Someone's going to cry. And otherwise, people are going to have a fond appreciation for your story, right? And kind of what you've gone through to get to where you're at. And ultimately then now being the mega cheerleader for you and all the great success that you have going on.
Is that why you're sweating? Are you nervous for the upcoming emotions?
No, I'm not.
It's rough.
I don't know what it is. I literally just turned the AC on in the upstairs.
I know emotions can be hard for men sometimes. We're going to get through this.
Oh, I'll cry. Well, I might. I don't know. Depends if I'm going to cry or not. There's only one other time I sweated this much, and that was when we didn't have AC up here. I think that was episode 18 with poor Carl Holden came in here, and I was like, do you want to do this? And he's like, well, we normally keep our house pretty warm. Well, it's almost 90, and we did it. And we were just doing this the whole time. But I don't know. For some reason, I'm sweating a little bit. I'm not nervous. So how are you doing today, Sonya?
Today's a good day.
Yeah?
Today's a fantastic day. My son arrives home from college.
Really?
Actually, they just arrived into town, and I am fending for myself because Blake took him out to dinner.
Really? Where'd they go?
Farm Burger?
Yeah, I know where that is. Over by
so
Char, on the other side of the street from Char.
Yes, Whole Foods shopping plaza.
The Whole Foods. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
What's your son's go-to burger?
I think he's pretty classic. Cheeseburger, bacon, double meat, all the cheese.
Extra patty then, double meat is what you're saying?
Yeah. He's a college boy. He'll eat me out of house and home. This is when he gets to actually eat as much as he can.
So what's his, let's do this. Let's do a little intro of your immediate family.
Okay.
Since we brought your son up. And so introduce him briefly and your daughter, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Yeah, I have 2 children, both out of the house right now. And I'll say for every mother that has gone through this, there is no what to expect book for when they leave. there's a what to expect when you're expecting,
Yeah.
a what to expect when you're babies, a what to expect toddlers. There is no what to expect when they leave. And
As far as how
it
much you're going
didn't
to actually
go
miss
well.
them? Really?
Yeah, it's so as a man, and I know I'm not introducing them right now. I'm going into something else first. As a man, you hold different emotions as a father. You love your children. You're emotional about them, but there is something different when you have them in your womb. And I want to say I was reading. I'm trying to remember where it was, and I don't recall. There was some doctor science thing, and he was talking about the umbilical cord. Not only do they get some of our DNA, but the mother actually holds and keeps some of the children's. And if that's true, and I'm just going off of what I read, like that's a big understanding of how we connect so much different.
Interesting.
And no matter how I am an example of a strong, independent woman and the businesswoman and business owner, and I've got this huge independent life and independence on the point where I've been a single mother since they were 2 and 3. But even with that, there is this thing in women that were raised in an old world of, wife, mother, things like that, that when you're not a mother, you have this half of you that goes, well, then what am I now that that's gone? Like you're literally cutting away a piece of who I am, and it doesn't turn off.
Yeah.
You can't. So it's very hard. And like I remember the first time my partner went into the room and was like, well, maybe we should take the teenage boy stuff off the walls in his room and just turn it into a guest bedroom. I wasn't prepared for just sobbing unconsolably out of the blue. And I'm not a crier. I don't get I get emotions. My children can break me, but I'm not an emotional person. I'm not sensitive.
So it surprised you?
It super shocked me. I was not prepared for how hard not having them at home and just getting through the first holidays. This year was the first holidays that they got to choose, where they were going on which days, and boyfriend's house or this house. And when they didn't always choose to come home, it was rough.
Can you compare that? Let's not go down this tangent too much because we'll probably come back to it. But was there that same level of emotion that you experienced in another time of your life where you could actually compare and contrast, or it was very similar, or was it in fact completely different?
Completely unique.
Unprecedented.
Completely. Now, I have had harder emotions. So this isn't the hardest phase, but it's completely unexpected emotions.
Yeah.
At completely unexpected times. It's definitely charting new territory as a mother. And it's some days are great, and you want to love them and you want them to be independent. My goal is absolutely, as a mother, I have raised them to be amazing human beings, and they are phenomenal human beings. They are great people, and I'm very proud to have played a part in that. But they can also wound you when they're just trying to be independent, just because they're being independent, which is where they should be. And you just get hurt feelings as a mother because they're like, but, don't you want to come home for dinner some more?
So your son is named Jace?
So my son is Jace.
Okay.
He will be 21 next month.
Okay.
And my daughter is Savannah, and she's 19.
And where did the names come from?
Jace was actually supposed to be Wyatt Austin. And I'm a huge study of name meanings, and I firmly believe you become a piece of what your name means. I'm a believer of all these different things that make up a person, and there's, one of them is your name. Sonya means wisdom, and I hope I, have grown into that. Wyatt was a very aggressive name, and it was a very hard time in our lives when I was pregnant with him. And there was so much hurt and trauma already actively happening in my life at that time. I didn't want a boy to come into that and have an aggressive personality name to go along with emotions he may already have to deal with being born into.
So it wasn't necessarily him being named after someone that's caused you pain. It was just you doing research, looking into things and saying, you know what, I don't want to go that route.
I'm adopted. in a piece of my background. So I don't really have people that I would name my children after that played roles in my life. I mean, I do, and I do, and I don't. But I don't want to go too deep and touch hardly at all on my children's father, for reasons you and I have talked about. But so there's also some tradition, and his family names people after this, my family names things after that, and so my son does have his first name as his middle name, and that was a tradition. But he actually wasn't named for 2 days. When he was born, at this point, I was like, I don't know what to name him now. Yeah. And an aunt actually.
It just didn't feel right. You look at him and you're like, this is
I
not. I
can't do it. Yeah. Okay. I don't want an aggressive type of personality name. And Wyatt came from, and like Wyatt Earp is where it came from. Sure. Tombstone is literally one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
And I just liked how that character came from so much bad. And even though he was troubled, he was really a good guy and couldn't help but do nothing but help all the good guys. And I liked that. I liked the character. I liked the strength. But it was a very aggressive name, and I couldn't do it. Jace means the healing. And it seemed, when I heard it, when this aunt brought it up, I looked it up immediately. What does this name mean first? And the healing was so needed.
So it's almost like a physical manifestation of a source of healing that you needed at that time.
Right. But it is when I go into you become what you mean.
And you can see that now.
My son, I remember this time and we pray at dinner. We, raised in church and, very faith-filled family. And I remember one time my son was on the playground and we're at a park and a kid fell down and got hurt. And my son grabs him. He goes, I gotta go. Runs to this little kid, grabs him, puts his hand on his head and just goes, in Jesus' name, you're healed. Amen. He goes, you're good now. And he runs away.
Wow.
And that wasn't, it was funny because it wasn't something that he was necessarily around that all the time. We weren't like in a specific type of church, or we weren't it was just, we prayed. Yeah. And
you acknowledged a higher power.
Faith, 100%. And I was raised, I like how my parents raised me. I'm taking tangents left and right. They raised me of here's what we believe, here's the denomination we're in, here's that and here's why, here's what they believe and here's why, here's what they believe and there's why, here's what they believe. Every type of not only Christian, but here's what Buddhism is, here's what Jewish is, here's what this is, and here's what they believe and here's why they believe it. And we were taught to study. And then when I chose to stay in the type of church that I was raised in, my mother said another thing that I thought was very wise was, no matter what, whoever's talking and preaching is just a man. They will mess up. It's just their perception and their interpretation of what they're reading. And it's your job to study on your own to know what's right and wrong.
We're going to come back to Jace because obviously there's a story there, right, with his health. Yep. And now let's talk about your daughter, Savannah. Yep. So you shared a little bit about how your aunt came up with this idea of exploring the name for your son, Jace. Yep. And now Savannah gets her name.
Savannah didn't get a name with this deep, profound meaning of personality, style, and such. We were living in Oklahoma for a couple years during that time frame. We moved to Tennessee when she was probably about 2.5. But Savannah means from the treeless open plains. I had this kick during naming of places. Dallas, Cheyenne, Savannah, those are the top 3 names. Just because I liked them. Yeah. It was the one time I was opposite your name has to have this grand meaning. But Savannah fit based on where we were.
Gotcha.
It was this very flat land out there, and that's where she was. And it is also, if you go, there's tons of ways you can go into name meanings, but it's a very creative name. So even though the meaning of the word is from the tree of the open plains, it's a very creative type personality. You know, do you remember those little cards our parents used to get us with your name on it, and then it had a little paragraph about what you mean? Yeah. So with Savannah, you have your name meaning from the tree of the open plains, and then it goes into your little personality paragraph. And it was this very creative personality, and she fully embodies that.
I always got frustrated when you would think you'd have a definition. Like I saw a definition of my name that was like the land of curly haired people. And then when I was having a discussion about names with someone's like, "Oh no, your name means this." I'm like, "Well, I had the card.
The card.
Someone gave me something, and that's what it said." Like, no, it's this, and you're like, "Okay, well, how many definitions are
A lot.
Can be a lot, right?"
Right. Yeah. How you that dates us based on
Sure.
getting those little business card size things, because I think that was only in this decade of time.
You made me think of so during Christmas, I don't think we watched all of the Christmas movies we normally would, but one that we did that I don't think most of my family had seen yet was Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon.
I don't think I've seen
Oh,
it.
it's so good. You've got to watch it. It's a comedy, and as Tim McGraw's in it,
Okay.
and Robert Duvall, and they play. Robert Duvall's like Vince Vaughn's father, and then Tim McGraw's one of the brothers, and then Jon Favreau, who is good friends with Vince Vaughn. They've done some movies together, and he actually wrote The Mandalorian, Jon Favreau, or directed a lot of those. So he's a really talented guy. But they're all named after cities. There's Dallas, Denver, and then his name is Orlando. And there's a little tiff between him and Reese Witherspoon because they're just dating, they're not married, and he had never told her. Like he goes by Brad. Like he changed his name to Brad because he didn't want to go by Orlando.
Interesting.
And it sets off this whole thing where they kind of realize they don't really know each other that well. Or she was like, "Why wouldn't you tell me that?" I was like, "Well, I didn't want to tell you that. I don't like the name Orlando."
It's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Robert Duvall's like, yeah, or I guess that one of the brothers reminded him when they kind of came over for Christmas to visit. And she finds out his name was Orlando. Like, oh yeah, we were all named based on the city we were conceived in. And so you just kind of made me think of that. You're thinking Cheyenne and Austin and other places.
Yeah, she hates the fact, because she loves the name meanings thing too.
Right.
And she hates the fact that she doesn't have one of those names that also has just the definition. In Latin, it means this.
Yeah. Gotcha.
She's like, man, why does mine just mean something stupid? All my friends have these great ones.
So I forgot to call out. So this is a new hat for the Trash Pandas. It's the blue halo.
I made a comment when I sat down that you remind me of home right now.
Do I?
You do.
From
It's
LA?
such a dope skater vibe, and I'm a SoCal girl, so it's
Well, you know what's interesting about this hat is that it's technically, so there's like flat bills, and normally when someone wears a flat bill,
it's
like
super flat.
it's super flat, which I think is kind of an LA thing, and they keep the sticker on and all that. But and then there's regular hats, and this one is actually it has a little bit of a curve.
bit.
It just has a little bit.
It still gives off the cool skater vibe.
Does it?
though.
Well, I don't wear a lot of, and it's a fitted hat, and I don't wear a lot of fitted, but for some reason this 59 is it's a New Era brand, and it's the Major League brand, and for some reason I like this. But this is a new color, a new jersey they're going to wear every Friday night in the 2023 season, and I guess because they're a AA to the Los Angeles Angels, and the halo kind of comes from there, blue halo. Halo blue.
I like it.
But
Pulling in some.
and then I got the
some
pick
SoCal.
Alabama.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay, so I lived in Nashville for like 15 years. So it's
Yeah.
very Music City, the banjo. So what's Pick Alabama?
Well,
Pick Bama.
this is a Foul design, and I have given shout outs to Jonathan Fowler. They have a new brick and mortar location on Howe Avenue downtown. So they just do interesting things. They'll take like the Mountain Dew color set and say Montesano. Or Strange Noises, like from HBO, or Stranger Things, then it's Strange Noises.
All right. So you've got the state of Alabama as the banjo or the
Yeah.
guitar.
And
Guitar.
So, this is one of the latest ones I bought.
I like it.
So shout out to I actually won a prize. I went in there and bought some shirts, and I entered my name in a raffle, and then they called me up and said, "Hey, you want another shirt?" I'm like, excellent, because I just love supporting local.
Yep.
And I interviewed Jonathan on episode 7. So if you go back, even though the lighting is just atrocious,
So we can see how far you've grown.
I do that. My thing was always never abandon the audio. As long as my audio is good, I'll do a show, and then always try to have a good content, a good show. And then I think I said it from the beginning. This is going to be a work in progress when it comes to introducing video and lighting.
I mean, here's the thing: production value. We are a voyeuristic society. why the Kardashians are so big and all of those reality TV, because we like reality.
Yeah.
So like in that motivational speaker world, you have production value, Tony Robbins, right? Huge. Oprah. But then look at Gary Vee. Raw iPhone, horrible lighting, scruff bedhead,
But
huge.
Yeah.
People love real.
Yeah.
So a crap lighting episode, if the content is on, people really don't care that much about production value. But you want to be able to hear them well, and that's really it.
Well, it's interesting. So I'll bring you in on I had a call with like a consultant, and on my prior episodes, I was doing split screen, and some of that was so I just didn't have to like hit a bunch of buttons. It's easier if I just do capture cards. I can bring up my camera, your camera, side by side.
Yeah.
But I was spending all this time on pre-production, doing color sets that would match the company and their logo and all this stuff. And his feedback was, get rid of all of it and zoom in more on yourself and forget all that. And it's true. And even if you look at Joe Rogan, which is the #1 podcast in the world,
Yep.
he has a simple burgundy curtain behind his guest, and he has his sign behind him that probably cost about $50,000, right, to make. But it's very simple. And so I took that to heart, because what I thought was unique, cool idea, no one cares. There was never any sort of feedback on, oh, that looks really good and you're really helping your guest. So, lesson learned.
Yep.
So you know what? I actually kind of forgot to mention how we met. And actually, I think if memory serves me, I just sought you out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I was looking for, always looking for guests, and I was looking for someone, kind of a woman, owned a business. And certainly it's attractive when you see, like, you have a lot of followers. I'm like, okay, the Bailor Group. And so I just cold called, if you will, messaged you.
Yep.
And then we met, and then here we are. So, number one, I appreciate you responding, because I could read 7 emails I've got from like spam
There's a
LinkedIn.
lot on LinkedIn.
Oh, Troy, it looks like you're a wonderful manager. Your skills are excellent. Can we do business together? It's like some robot somewhere, right? So thank you for not assuming this was just garbage and actually replying, and here we are having an episode. But so talk about the Bailor Group a little bit, and then we're going to go back further. But just, as far as what is your core, your core competence, what is it that you bring? Why do customers seek you out? Who are your customers?
Yeah.
Go from there.
Our lane is pretty narrow. Our industry is broad, but our lane is pretty narrow. We are, in a generalized term, business strategists, but it's growth. We only deal in growth. That's what we know inside and out. That's what we speak. That's what we think. That's what we do, and that's what we do very well. What that means in a more full sentence, Bailor Group is a management and marketing consultancy. We deal with the things that affect growth in a business. But that starts inside. Scalability, how do you make a business scalable? The repeatable processes, the people, change management sometimes. And then externally growing them. You get a lot of people that are just say, we just need to grow. And how we grow is outside sales. It's just revenue. It's just outside. Growth is just sales and marketing, sales. And even though that's true in a piece, it is literally only a small piece. Twitter, Elon Musk, this is a big topic in the recent times, right? All the layoffs that had to happen, and then it rippled through other people. Well, I don't know if you noticed it, but right after everyone started going after Elon about laying all the people off, the CEO that stepped down of Twitter put out a public letter that said, this is my fault. I'm sorry. I grew it too fast. And this is what happens when you grow a company too fast without making sure the inside is ready yet.
Yeah.
That is an over and over and over and over again thing that we deal with. And there's a time and place for growing super fast and knowing you're going to break things, but then you're putting people or things in place to mitigate that growth as you're doing it. You're running through a china shop like a bull. Things are breaking. You're being tunnel focused on the things that cannot break and allowing things to fall off on purpose. And knowing the faster you want to grow, the more capital it takes. You have to have the money to fix the stuff you're breaking along the way, because you will break stuff and
Sure.
it will F up along the way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do my best to not curse.
Well,
'Cause-
just as a quick peripheral story, like so, Amazon Web Services just went through a ton of layoffs. Now, they also were trying to spin it with saying, "Oh, we just did a record $100 billion in revenue," but they're also going through massive layoffs. Why? Because they grew too fast.
Yep.
And I saw that with people, especially during the pandemic, where it almost became unmanageable. Where you used to have people in a brick and mortar, right, at an office, and now they're all spread out, and you're trying to cater to people and their needs, and we're in this unprecedented situation, kind of hands off, right? No, don't ask, don't tell. We're not going to ask a bunch of questions about why or why not you can't come to work. And then you got people taking extra jobs, 2 or 3 jobs, and just kind of sitting behind and not really doing anything for any of the companies they're working for.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of hearing stories from people that, and it's not just to completely throw AWS under the bus, but there's just an example of it scales too fast, and you got a bunch of people sitting on a call, but out of 30 or 40 people on a call, well, who's really doing the work? And who's just kind of learning it or figuring out, let's just game the system and just kind of be present, don't have to do much, and just kind of sit back. And then sure enough, what happens? Layoffs.
Yeah. It happens a lot. I'll go into 2 different things really quick, is how much is inside business and how much is outside. Everybody wants to, when you start a business, you want to go into the pretty fun stuff first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need a logo, and let's do a website, and let's look at marketing stuff. That's fun. Of course, you want to do that first, but most people skip over the stuff you have to do first. I have a client that I won't be able to talk about for a couple of years because it's a product that we're going to be launching that could be snagged if we speak about it too soon.
Sure.
But we're literally doing 10 months of only due diligence and research and build ahead of time. Because, we just now, I think we're just past 4 months in, and we just now came into some brand because now we have enough information to step into some of the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to go a little bit deeper, and then we can build more of the brand messaging and things like that, because this is starting from scratch, and not everybody has to take that long. I do have a client in town, VU Salon Retreat, and I'll plug them really quick.
Sure.
They've only been open for, the end of January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I mean,
How do you pronounce it?
VU.
VU.
VOUS. It's a French word that just means you.
Okay. VU Salon Retreat.
VU Salon Retreat.
Okay.
It is a gorgeous high-end hair salon and spa retreat. That is, if you want to be pampered, man or woman. Massages. They have this whole relaxation room that is no charge, because I've built them from ideation to launch, and then ensuring they had a growth model in place, and they're growing week over week, blowing out industry records in growth. It's really exciting to step back and watch if someone's really willing to, as a leader, step in and just follow a proven path of build and launch and scale. It's really exciting.
This is a new operation. It's not like a chain or a franchise.
It's brand new.
Okay.
This was a woman, and I want to be careful. I don't like using the word just, but I'm only going to use it to build a story.
Mm-hmm.
She was just a hairstylist. Now she had her own practice, but it was one chair that she rented out a space. And hairstylists, you either have your own place or you rent a booth. There's only a few different ways it kind of operates.
Yeah.
But when they're just behind a chair renting a chair, you're basically renting that piece of space in real estate, and it's your own business. You do all your own expenses, your own P&L, but it's just you.
Yeah.
And that's what she had. Now, she had built a phenomenal reputation with the celebrity level hair extensions, and she's is the only certified in this brand, that this company that deals with a ton of the celebrities, Selena Gomez, all of them use this brand, and she was you have to be certified in it, and she's certified in it.
Gotcha.
And she just had this vision. She wanted this big during the pandemic is when she came up with the piece. Salons, massage places, these spas and salons were affected. They literally could not do business because you could not meet in person. You couldn't, unless you were willing to just have someone into your place and do it in the back door, under the table. They couldn't operate at all. And she was a person that didn't do what she did because doing hair was her passion. Doing hair was something she learned to be very good at, but working with people and having those conversations she got to have behind the chair and getting to be a piece of their life and help speak into them and impact them is why she did it, why she stayed with it, why she wanted to grow it. And VOU, meaning you, and the legal name is TOUVOUS, TOUTVOUS. It's a French phrase that means everything you. All you, everything you. And because her entire mission statement and purpose is that everybody that walks through their doors is pampered at this luxury level, so many value adds happening in there, and that everybody knows before they leave, or if not right when they walk in, that their presence matters, that they matter. And their mission statement speaks to not only make you more beautiful on the outside and restore you and all of these things with all of the pieces that you can go do inside, from the infrared saunas that if you listen to Joe Rogan, you hear him talk about his infrared saunas all the time.
His cold tubs.
Yeah. Halotherapy, salt rooms, massages, all of these other things that you get there. But that their core values, everybody that they employ has to embody these core values. So it's a great example of fully building it from systems and processes and business structure, but brand and story. And they hadn't done a single piece of paid advertising at their launch, up through the first X many months, 3 months. And still the growth was overbounding in an exciting way just by utilizing the power of brand and story, and hype building and everything that goes into it.
Let me make an inference. You met her because you were going there as a customer or a client for her hairstyling?
No, this was
How did you meet her?
There's a group on Facebook for Huntsville called the Social Gals of Huntsville, which is, for a person that doesn't have a lot of time, it's annoying to be a part of groups that you're always getting feeds from. But for somebody who knows connecting with people is powerful, and you're always one relationship away and one connection away from everything changing, I still value connection. So I step into things even when my time doesn't want to all the time, on purpose. And I have to. I'm the type of person that has to on purpose make time to do this. And so I made time, and I was a watcher of it for a while. And then finally I went, and this is also business. In business, if you're an entrepreneur and you have these groups, you never want to be selling. You always want to be giving value and doing that, but you can still use platforms strategically, but be very authentic and genuine at the same time. And this was an example for that. I remember I was having a coaching session, telling somebody what I was doing and why I was doing and how I was making the post I was making as I was typing it up. And I finally, 3 months in, introduced myself into the group. Talked very wittily and candidly about my children, talked mainly about, fun things that women talk about. I actually brought up that reference that we chatted about before we went on air about, there's this TikTok that says I got 3 looks and that's it. And I won't say what the names are. And then, but in my life, I always joke about I only got 2 looks. I'm either all done up or I'm homeless. There's no in between with me. I don't do casual well. I have to learn how to do jeans and the shirt thing.
Hire me. I'll help you with that.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Dude, it's the hat. The dude's going to start coming out now.
Dude.
Dude.
SoCal, bro.
Dude, I call my mom dude.
Dude. Yeah.
It's literally a term of endearment for Californians.
Well, it's that, and it's the decades we grew up in.
It is.
Awesome.
It was
and
rad.
Yeah. Now, you hear sometimes, that's lit, that's fire. Get out of here with that.
You know what phrase I want to bring back, but nobody wants me to?
What's that?
Whack.
That's whack, yeah.
That was whack.
Whack.
I think we should bring whack back right now.
We, in my high school, I don't know why, but they said the word grit, but grit. And I don't know where it came from. And
Yeah, we didn't use that
and
one.
it was just like it was only like at our school, like someone just decided. I guess they kind of sit back, like I want to introduce a word.
I'm off such a tangent from that social group post. There was this time. Did you ever go through a phase in junior high, grade school, high school where you were like, "Listen, I want to make a word. I want to make a word that gets picked up, like whack, like rad, like awesome. Like let's get our friend group together and come up with a word.
Boss.
It's gonna
Yeah.
boss, right?
Like
I've never told this to anybody,
Okay.
except for my sibling who knows about it. I don't remember. I think I was like 12, and I decided I'm going to make a word, and it's going to go. I wanted it to be Paisley.
okay.
I don't know why.
So it's like a word
That you use for
that you
something else.
use
That's what all words
to
are.
just
They're
give it
words
different
that we use for
connotations.
other things.
Yeah.
Right.
Paisley.
I wanted Paisley to be a thing. It obviously never became a thing.
Like, how would you use that in a sentence? What would be the context of what you were thinking? Like something boring or plain?
No, that's interesting
That's
that
so
you
Paisley.
said that. That's so Paisley. Yeah, kind of like a whack. Like it's just, it's a pattern that you assume goes with a different era that's not cool anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's so Paisley.
Interesting.
Yeah. You hear the
So-
laughing in the background. It wasn't that bad. Okay, it was that bad.
So going back to growth, and I think you kind of touched on this. So you're right. A lot of times we only think about new revenue, new products, but it also sounds like you're coming in and doing some consulting on here are the inhibitors or barriers to growth unless you address these fundamental operational problems or otherwise.
Well, I'll say it this way. There's the inside of your business, the business of doing business is probably about 70% of business, period. 30% is your talent, your market, your, what you do. I use this analogy a lot. There are only 2 fashion designers that went straight from school to being successful without interning, apprenticing under a major label for 5-10 years first. One of which is a current designer right now. His name's Alexander Wang.
Huh.
And from the story that I know, the reason that he was so successful is because he was raised with a father that was a businessman helping in his business as an entrepreneur. So he knew business inside and out.
Right.
Because how many people do you know? You have a guitar in your shirt, in music, in fashion, in sports that have an insane level of talent.
Mm-hmm.
And if talent was all it took, then these people should have made it.
Yeah.
But it's not talent. You have to know how to do business. And even as a person, as a musician, as an artist, as a fashion designer, as a painter, as a salesman, you have to know how to represent yourself, how to build the business, how to, do the legal stuff, the financial stuff, the strategies, the processes, how to not bleed money because everything's so manual and it being redone 3 times in checks and balance systems.
Well, there's that, and then Southwest is a great example now of what can go wrong. What's the weak parts of our business that are going to be exploited should something like weather present problems in where we fly, right? And it's cascaded into severe problems for them. Right?
There is a great analogy that's used that there's a book called The Originals, fantastic book that I was reading a couple years ago, and I don't remember which company it was that he was telling the story about as one of the big ones, that they went in and did some focus groups, and how they do it, and it's pretty phenomenal, is telling their people, instead of, I want you to sit around and brainstorm about innovation, this was the focus group. They had split it up into 2. They had half of the room innovate, round table about what can we do to go to the next level? What are these great ideas? And then they went to the other side, and then from then on, based on what came out of this, they only do it this other way now. And the other way is they had the people sit around and go, okay, if you were a competitor trying to kill this company,
Right.
what would you come up with?
Right.
What type of things could kill us? Create that. What type of things, what things environmentally could kill us? Brainstorm those. And if you innovate to that and build to that, you can't.
It's almost like breaking apart the SWOT analysis, with strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and saying, okay, the one group you're going to work on weaknesses and threats, and the other group you're going to work on strengths and opportunities.
Yeah.
In a way, right? If you were to just kind of take a textbook acronym like that, and you're right. Like, how can, and when you think about, there are so many companies who've had to constantly reinvent themselves, and that's the only way you survive. I mean, hats off to any, like Pizza Hut.
Yeah, they've been around.
They've been around, and how have they done it, right? And I don't know, but they're still there.
Well, look at Little Caesars.
Or Little Caesars.
They were $5 hot and ready when my kids were 5, and they're $5 hot and ready still. I don't know how that. We're $8 now, I think, maybe. But
maybe
that doesn't equal everything else in price inflation things like that. They're doing something.
Yeah, and
right.
They're in every locality in this country and even in the world, someone's going to open up a pizza place.
Yep.
Or 2 or 3, and you're going to have some chains and some delivery. And now we got DoorDash, and yet somehow they're doing something right, as far as how they manage their business, how they look at what do consumers want, and the market must be ever changing, and somehow they're still meeting it.
There's a commercial on TV. Well, I'll use 2 commercial examples. I'm going to come back to the Duracell one. But since Little Caesars was up, and talk about currently how are they adjusting with the market. I was just talking to my guy Blake about this. There's a Little Caesars commercial that they have a gluten-free pizza crust now. So you can still eat Little Caesars even if you're gluten. But you get to the end of the commercial, and then it says really fast, like those medicine things. Right.
Side effects.
Really fast is... yes, this is the dough is gluten-free. However, it's made in the same exact location as all of these other things that have gluten. So I look at my guy and I'm like, which means if you're truly have what is gluten intolerance is truly like celiac disease. If you're truly gluten intolerant and you're not on the trend of it, you can't eat it. Yeah. Because it's made in the same spot.
They're basically saying we are not going to build a separate facility and plant to create just gluten products.
No, what they're saying is we know the hard science numbers. We know the true gluten intolerant is probably a lower one, but a lot of people are on this for safety, for let's, go better safe than sorry. Let's, it's an intolerance. It's not I actually have celiac disease, or it's a trend. I like kale and I'm gluten-free. Like it's marketing, and it's good marketing.
Yeah.
Now, on that approach, another company that does this very well is Duracell. Duracell, this marketing example is opposite what I would say of like VU Salon Retreat. If I get, as a marketer, when we're doing the external side of business growth, it's marketing. All the business side is the management, consulting, which is the majority. And then you have the external, which is our, marketing and sales consulting side. When we're on the external side, a marketer will tell you it's marketing gold if you get to market a company who not only has an amazing product or service, is great at what they do, gives more value than the product costs, but they also have a mission-driven model, a purpose-driven. They're doing this to make impact as well. To market that is easy. You just tell the story.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to a company that has a bad product and now you have to damage control with marketing, or has a bad story, or is really just there to make money, or does bad business, but they still need to make numbers, that's when you actually have to learn how to be a creative marketer and how to do this. A really good example of creative marketing is the Duracell commercial that has, it's been really big, all the Super Bowl commercials, and then some, where you got... the person arguing, you can brush your teeth and they're foaming more. I can play video games longer and they're sinking into the sofa. And they said, whether you need more power, and it's arguing. And the other side, no, I want longevity. No, I want more power. And this is, well, whichever one you need, you can have it with Duracell. But you can't have both. It's which one. You're either going to get a lot of power, short burst, or a trickle charge, longevity. That is a perfect example of damage control marketing done really, really well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Duracell's a bad product. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm saying that's what that commercial says. the background of that commercial is you can have one or the other, but they've marketed it so well that you're excited about the one you want to pick.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about, oh, so I can't have both. I can't have something that needs a lot of power and use it for a long time.
Let me ask you this. You got me thinking because, and using batteries. Batteries is, I think, is a great example.
Okay.
When I think of batteries, I think of like Duracell and Energizer as far as I'm going to buy something and it's going to last. I'm rolling the dice if I buy some other brands.
Because of marketing.
Well, they don't work. They don't last as long. And that's just from making mistakes as a consumer, trying to save. It's
Buying
always
the
about
cheap
like,
batteries, yeah.
to some degree, it's, you get what you pay for.
Yep.
So as 47 years old and I've bought batteries for most of my, my whole life, well, I can look back and say, whenever I bought Duracell or Energizer, they lasted. And then, anytime you get like an electronic and it comes with batteries, you're like, ugh, how long are these going to last?
Right.
So let me ask you this. I mean, and so to me, that is product. Like, I can't remember what the term is. That's just kind of like product dominance, right? You just, they have invested.
Like the Coca-Cola of soda pops.
Yeah. I mean, they have invested. It costs money, of course, to produce a product that's going to be a higher quality and last longer and be more overall. You'll get better ratings from your consumer. But at the same time, there is a need and there is a market for the cheaper stuff. But so when you approach a customer, a client, and you go in, are there times when you have either backed away because their business, their product is just subpar, or you had enough concerns or like this, I don't really want to deal with cheap batteries, just using that. I would rather I want to work with the Duracells and the Energizers of the world.
So I will say, unless the product is bad product, meaning you're doing bad business trying to sell with bad integrity, this is a great product and it's really a
piece of crap.
Yeah,
my words, not yours.
I would say a curse word. Then it's
Paisley.
I have only backed away twice from things, and it's more leadership integrity. Or if let's say I haven't dealt with this with product, but what would make me back away from a client, which again would come down to leadership integrity, would be, like I just said, if you have a crap product, but you're out there selling it as something else. I have no problem with transparency. If you have a cheap product and it's cheap and you are selling it to the audience who needs it to fill the need of the audience that can't get more, and you know who you are and you claim it, I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. We can market the hell out of that day in and day out. Like, we got you.
There's a reason Dollar General is so popular.
Well, in the fashion industry, as an example, Forever 21 is a good example. We call that disposable clothing. Or the industry term is fast fashion. It is not going to last you how much a Dolce & Gabbana dress would last you. A dress from H&M will not last you 40 years. It won't. You will not be able to buy a vintage Forever 21 top. That's from the 90s. It's not going to happen. We call that disposable clothing, but it's also cheap priced.
Yeah.
The fabric's cheap. The threading is not put together the same. There's no lining in the jackets, but they don't claim to be Dolce & Gabbana.
Sure.
And even Versace has a Target level brand that she put out. Even these big designers understand people want their type of look. And they're willing to pay for the type of look, but they don't have the budget, so they'll style a low level of a knockoff version from their own brand themselves for a lower market. But they claim it. Now that I'm cool with. Just don't do bad business by trying to sell it for something you're not. That to me still just stems from leadership integrity. That's the only thing that would make me walk away.
So have you studied in the evolution and on that fashion example? At some point, they must have learned, hey, not everyone's going to want to wear something for decades, and it's going to be seasonal. We're going to take advantage of the hot color, whether it's teal one year and the next year it's fuchsia, whatever, and we're just going to get into this, or people's appetites are going to be just for this, just for spring or just for fall, and then I'm never going to wear it again, and I'm going to reload my wardrobe. Is that accurate to some of the thinking that went into clothing makers, just on maybe to not invest as much into the quality and to kind of back off?
Well, there's a different audience. So when I was in the fashion industry, I got to study the trends. I think fashion and tech are the two industries that have to research as far back and forecast as far forward and hit home runs most of the time successfully, as fast as they have to do. A lot of tech companies have been hiring up fashion executives for a decade now because of that, and vice versa. But what I noticed is there's tiers, right? You have your couture, Dior, which is the top. It doesn't go above that. That is the epitome of the highest level of couture fashion. And each layer, and you have, what we'll call timeless, right? I'm an example of that mid-level. I own Dolce & Gabbana.
Mm-hmm.
I don't own Dior yet. I'm not there. I'm not that level yet.
Yeah.
But I also shop H&M. And I am aware when I go into fast fashion what I'm buying, but I will spend money on pieces that are worth wearing for 20 years, meaning the jeans that are hard to find the perfect pair of jeans. I will spend hundreds of dollars on a pair of jeans because they will last if they fit well. Exactly.
Will you buy 2 pair? Just because you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Or 3?
I mean, I don't wear a lot of jeans.
Okay.
So.
Fair enough. Well, it's like, if you do stumble upon, this is the perfect pair of jeans.
I own a lot of Dolce & Gabbana dresses.
Okay.
Because it is the designer that happens to fit my shape.
Gotcha.
I don't have a traditional shape for an American white girl.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. It is funny, like you get on these apps, like all these like weight loss, or it doesn't matter what app it is, and they like, what's your body type? And they'll give you like 4 or 5 pictures. Like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like always guessing, like,
honey, what's my body type?
But it's funny how it varies from app to app. Like
Right.
Sometimes it'll be 3, sometimes it'll be 5, it'll be 4.
You guys have it much easier than we do in fashion, though. A size is a size, is a size, is a frickin' size. It doesn't matter which label you go to. We literally cannot go outside of a label we know without trying it on first, because it will run 2 sizes different and fit completely different. It's not. I think the fashion industry hates women, or they know we're the money makers. We're the money spenders and the money deciders, and because of that, they fuck it up on purpose.
Well,
there's my first one. I've only dropped one so far.
Okay. As a short person, the reason people like, I used to wear suits every day when I used to work on a customer site, and I was the PM, and then why do you wear suits? Like, because number one, when you get a suit, it doesn't matter who you are, you have to get it tailored. But if I buy a shirt and I know exactly what my inseam is, I'm going to buy that shirt with the neck and the length and the sleeve, and that's it. And then of course, you buy like a athletic fit or normal. But yeah, there's just a few numbers that you get comfortable with, and it's going to fit, and then you get your stuff tailored. And that's but if I buy a shirt, then sometimes the sleeves are way too long. I gotta roll them up, but that's why I've always liked to dress up, because it's so much simpler.
Unless you're feeling like a skater dude.
Yeah, and then it's different. I gotta try on the hats and try on the t-shirts.
I gotta get me one of the hats in that color. I don't know if they. Do you remember if they make them without it being fitted, like with a snapback or a Velcro?
It's coming.
Okay.
So this is a brand new collection.
Can you put the word in that I want one?
You should get the jersey first. They're selling the jerseys in these.
I don't own a single sports gear.
Well, you should get a jersey. But no, the hat wise, there are other colors that are similar blue. The pandas do a great job.
I own ball caps.
Yeah.
But I don't own a single. I think one time, like a couple years ago, I bought a baby doll baseball tee just because I thought it looked really cute, and one day I would wear it and be like, look, I'm in something sporty. That's my limit.
Like the where it goes, like the sleeve goes halfway
And it's
down.
like different color. It's like I
Yeah.
felt like I was on Sandlot.
Yeah. I got you.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. James Earl Jones. Good movie. What's the last movie you saw?
The last movie I saw.
It's just a quick aside.
Oh, actually, the last movie I saw, I'm going to. My daughter's going to kill me for saying this. Was that new Thor and Thunder movie?
Oh yeah.
It was awful.
I hated it.
Oh my
I
gracious!
thought I really don't like the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, I love the Guardians
You do?
of the Galaxy. See, if I know I'm walking into comedy, I love me some comedy. And with the Guardians of Galaxy, you know what to expect. But Thor, I don't expect to watch an 80s B-rated like movie, like music video when I'm watching Thor. And so I think I was just so unprepared for the parody comedy / trying to be real movie where he was trying to fit into the. I wasn't ready for it. I didn't like it. My daughter loved it,
Really?
but I didn't.
Teach their own.
Yeah, she's like, "How do you not like it?" I'm like, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for the '90s B-roll level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's. Are you ready to go back? Can we go back to California?
Yeah.
Growing up.
Yep.